Welcome back. I'm Vincent Perryman, and you're watching Legalese. Joining us on our show is Patrick Stegall, Memphis attorney. We're discussing gun laws. So we've got into sort of honest ownership and kind of the spectrum of what all this covers. So really where we need to go here is what regulations are there that are out there on weapons, and how far can those regulations reach?
Mm-hmm. Some are federal laws, and some are state laws. Like I said, in Tennessee, it's pretty broad. There aren't any restrictions on NFA weapons or non-NFA weapons. Some states are different. The United States Supreme Court has not specifically said, what you can regulate and what you can't. Mm-hmm. We have had two significant gun law decisions in the last few years. The first one was Heller versus D.C., which the Supreme Court said there's an individual right to bear arms, not a militia right. It's actually within the individual. But they did not say, what specifically can we regulate. Mm-hmm. So that's still yet to be decided, and it may be decided within the next few years. Whether if the administration or Congress attempts to ban certain types of weapons, which there's been a lot of talk about, a lot of rhetoric right now. If they try, first of all, we'll have to see what they propose, and then can it pass, and can it get through the courts? So it will be interesting if it does go to the courts, and I think it would, if they tried to ban semi-automatic military-style weapons. Mm-hmm. If that goes to the Supreme Court, are they going to say that falls under the Second Amendment? I don't know. They haven't ever addressed that, and they haven't tipped their hand. They haven't given any hints. Mm-hmm. So it would be an interesting fight.
Yeah, and it's always interesting, too, when everybody's talking about regulations, and you'll see stuff pop up in social media as far as, oh, well, this individual was able to use their legal firearm to defend themselves. And, really, my question always is what all is included in that definition? Because it's not, the question to me is how broad is it? Because one example I saw the other day was someone had used a revolver to defend themselves, which obviously is not going to be in any of the regulations we've talked about. Whereas if it was a semi-automatic weapon with an extended magazine in there, then that would be something. Mm-hmm. So how detailed do these definitions get in the regulations?
Pretty detailed. And a lot of times they focus on cosmetic features, whether the weapon has a flash suppressor, or whether it has a pistol grip, or like you said, if it can accept magazines, what they call high capacity, what's really standard capacity magazine, military style features. A lot of it is cosmetic, but a lot of it, can make a difference in whether that weapon might be banned or not. That was the centerpiece of the 1994 crime bill, the Clinton ban, in effect from 1994 to 2004. It really focused on cosmetic features of guns. So anything semi-automatic that looks military style is going to be questioned and might be the subject of a ban.
Yeah, and it's gotten so commonplace, I think, especially with the sidearms, as far as being semi-automatics, and you've got your Glock that everybody seems to know, Sig Sauer out there, your Kemper, all these different things that, there's so many that are in the system already that it would seem almost impossible to regulate those.
Yeah, yeah. And if they did, if some kind of ban or regulation was passed, what are you going to do about the ones that are already out there? You can't make people turn them in. Mm-hmm. You could try, but that's not going to work. I think there would be a revolution in this country before that. So you're going to have some kind of grandfather clause. There are so many out there that they're out there.
So, and I guess the thing with this is how much can the state regulate of the weapons over what's already in the federal system? How more detailed can they get?
Some states get pretty detailed. Like I mentioned the 1994 crime bill, which expired federally 9 years ago almost. but it is still in effect in California, and other states like I think Illinois and New Jersey and a couple others still have a lot of it. New York State, just a couple of weeks ago, passed a very strict gun law, which basically forces people to register a lot of their guns, and it also says that magazines cannot have more than 7 rounds in them. So it's a very strict law, and it passed. It sailed right through the New York Assembly, and it's now the law of the state.
Yeah, I guess my question on the rounds thing there is can I have one in the chamber? And am I breaking the law there, and who's going to be checking that? You know, and really, with those regulations, isn't this more of just more stuff that if, say, somebody's breaking and entering or assaulting and they find a weapon on them, that they can increase the charges on them, basically?
Yes.
So that always seems interesting to me in that standpoint as to how do we, just having the firearm, kind of like you said, strict liability in the first segment there on having it in the airport. Well, when that happens to somebody that's got a registered firearm, they've got all the appropriate paperwork, what can you do? I mean, as far what do you do when you're representing somebody like that?
And they're charged with breaking the law?
Well, yeah, as far as maybe having a weapon on them in the airport that they'd forgotten about.
Okay. Those, can be worked out. They understand that it's an honest mistake. I have been fortunate in all of mine to secure dismissals of the charge and even get the gun back for the owner. They do have to go through, it's a Class A misdemeanor in Tennessee to do that. So it's punishable up to 11 months and 29 days.
Okay.
And I tell the client that at the beginning, but I say, I would like to work this out, with something less than that. So it's really just up to talking to the prosecutor and seeing what kind of deal can be reached. But, sometimes it may be as little as paying court costs. I do know that the individuals who do that, who accidentally take a gun into the airport, have to pay a fine to Transportation Security Administration of $1,500. They can either pay the fine or they can have a hearing, but you're not going to win the hearing.
Right.
So it's always better to just pay the fine. So they're out a lot of money. It's a very expensive mistake. So I try and mitigate, all the any probation or court cost or things like that.
Okay. And when we return from our break, we'll talk more with Patrick Stegall, Memphis attorney, about gun laws. Please stay with us.